to the City of Indian Rocks Beach City Commission meeting. This is Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please stand for a few moments of silence. Thank you. Lauren, would you do the roll call, please?
Commissioner Bond?
Here.
Commissioner Bigelow?
Present.
Commissioner King?
Here.
Vice Mayor Commissioner Wilson?
Present.
Mayor Commissioner Hausberg?
Here. Thank you. First, we'll start on the presentations. Could I have the report of the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office?
Good evening, I'm Sergeant Jared Schuler, Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. I'm the AMA Supervisor at Harold Beaches. As it is for the report for the month of November, there were a total of 3 UCR offenses. There was 2 assaults and 1 larceny. The assault one was a domestic, the other one was a stalking incident that there was no charges made out of it, and the larceny was just a wallet that was taken off the beach. As of arrest for the month of November, there were 11 total charges that people were arrested on, 6 people arrested. 3 were felony, 2 for child pornography, 1 for possession of controlled substance, and then the rest were misdemeanors. 1 was a domestic battery, disorderly intoxication, 2 for loitering and prowling, 1 for possession of drug paraphernalia, 1 for resisting, 1 for violation of pretrial, and 1 for violation of an injunction. As for deputy activity for the month of November, there was a total of 578 events with 748 units responded. Kind of some of the top ones were obviously directed patrols. There was 134 traffic stops over the month, 34 area checks, 25 house checks, 25 illegally parked vehicles, 20 contact calls, 14 hour hang-ups, 13 ordinance violations, 13 suspicious people, and kind of moved down from there. In November, there were a total of 3 traffic accidents in the city, and there were 136 citations and warnings issued by the deputies in the beach. I know I got the report, unless anyone has any questions, concerns, reference to the report.
Does anyone have any questions? I'm kind of interested, how did this child pornography?
That, I'm pretty positive, I don't have all the details from it because it was initiated from our crime against children detectives, but I'm pretty sure that was one of the tips that they got from the federal agency. They kind
Okay.
of worked it from their subpoenas and stuff, and
Okay.
found it all from there. So there was no concern kind of to the public at all. It was all.
I was just really surprised when I saw that in the newspaper. It's like,
Yeah.
that doesn't fit here.
Yeah, most of those come from a tip from a hotline that the federal agencies get, and then they send it
Okay.
down to us, and then it all, it's just subpoenas from there.
So there were 2 arrests made on that?
It was the same incident, they ended up adding more counts, so the same
Okay.
subject was rearrested. So there was only the 1 incident, there's just 2 arrests of the same subject.
Okay, and overall, it looks like the assaults are down this month, and,
Yeah, because you know those 2, there was really only 1, and it was self-contained arrested. The
okay.
other one, they didn't follow through, it was alleged, but the other one didn't go through with anything, so there's only 1 for the entire month.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Of course, you guys all have a good night.
Next, we'd like to report of the Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue District.
Hello.
Hey, Chief.
Good evening, Fire Chief Ken Grimes. For the month of, I have a New Year's resolution for next year, which is I'm going to produce a better report that I'm going to get to you ahead of time. I actually have some handouts of a template, but this month and I may want to hand these out, I don't know if I can during our discussion a little bit, but we had several actual fires in the month of November, none though in Indian Rock Beach. We did have a fire go up in Oakhurst. Is that working? Okay. In Oakhurst area that was quite something. It was a house fire, started in the garage, went to the first floor, then to the second floor. There were 5 people in the house, including a disabled person. The waste management was on their way by, noticed the fire, got all the occupants out. Our station is right there, but we were somewhere else training, and one of our other vehicles was at the store, only 2 minutes away, so the response time was very short. They put themselves between the fire and the rest of the house, and then the fire conditions were really heavy. So they cut a hole in the roof right above the fire. It's what we do to keep the fire from spreading through the house, go out like a chimney. It's really spectacular in like a blowtorch, because you cut a hole in the ceiling or in the roof, and then you have a long pole and you knock down the drywall, and when you do that, the fire comes through it, and that releases all the smoke and heat. And then we were able to rescue 2 other pets that were in the house, a snake and a cat. And 2 pets died in the fire that I didn't mention in my news report because I thought they were actually food for the snakes, but there were 2 pet rats that died in the fire. So
Wow.
it was, but the firemen, they did an amazing job. We had Largo, Clearwater, us, Madeira Beach there, and Seminole. And so the way we operate as a system, there's 18 fire departments in Pinellas County, but we all operate as one. Everybody shows up and knows exactly what they're doing under the same orders. And so everything went to spec book, and we were able to save most of the house, and then, more importantly, belongings, the medicine for the disabled child, and things like that. So everything went just as it should, and we're proud of that. It's actually going to be in the national magazine, the fire itself, because of the ventilation went so well.
Oh, nice. Is this a new practice?
No, we've always done it.
Okay.
Just I guess our training officer is very plugged in at a national level, and when he described it, they said, we'd like to highlight this in how ventilation, when it's done right, how well it works. Fire Engineering Magazine is the name of the magazine.
Well, congrats.
Yeah, thank you. We had a total of 30 calls in Indian Rocks Beach. 9 of those were fire calls, and 21 were EMS calls. In the month of November. In the future, I'm going to give you this report, and I'll hand it out if you don't mind, but it has the previous month too. We'll do the whole year, so you can sort of compare month to month, because I think looking at one month doesn't really tell you anything. About 70% of our calls are EMS in general, and about 20 or 30% are fire. That's consistent. We actually, in half of our calls, 50% of our calls are running mutual aid in this system that I talked about. So all those departments helped us out, and we're helping other departments out about half the time. So those are our statistics for the month. We've been active this peak season. It was nice coming to your Christmas tree lighting. That was fun, and I guess we're going to lead your boat parade. So that's going to be
Great.
I think that's great. I'm going to be out of town, so I'm going to miss it. The other piece of business is we met when we talked at the city summit about the ideal long-term configuration of the fire district. We talked about approaching the county to give us a piece of land to build on at the Tiki Gardens property. And so we did yesterday had a meeting with the county, and they gave us the green light to go ahead and talk publicly about it. And we just have a few obstacles to clear, but I would ask, we're going to ask our cities if you wouldn't mind, if you support it, to do a resolution or send a letter of support or something to the city council saying that you support it. But we're super excited. It's actually in the handout again, if I can give it to you. It's in the perfect location. It's so synergistic. It is equal distance between the Reddington Beach Station that's being built and R27. At that busy beach access, it uses the same traffic light. It allows us to do rapid beach rescue, to pull a jet ski or a marine Zodiac straight across the beach and cover most of our beaches with the water rescue vehicles. So it's actually exciting news for us. We've been thinking about it for years, but it's finally coming to fruition. With that said, we're still in Indian Rock Beach. We're still planning the North Station, which is at the Church of the Isles, and we're still working through that. We were going to buy a house next to the property that we own, and then to make it go a little faster, and also, quite frankly, it was $10 million to build a fire station, so I surmised if we could get an existing house and then build a garage, that would be more cost effective for our taxpayers. But that deal of buying that house has, to this point, fallen through. So we're still waiting. The owner's flood mitigating, and, there's always a chance he'll come back. But otherwise, we're still looking at Church of the Isles for our long-term solution for us. Because as you can see, we only got a call a day in Indian Rock Beach. So that's any questions for me?
Does anybody have questions for Chief Grimes?
Nope.
So no, fried turkey fires this year?
That's a big thing on Facebook. I think, we should do a video like that. But yes, if you're doing fried turkey, be very careful when you put the turkey in the oil. Can I leave these with someone and then you just hand them out? Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Next, we're going to move on to the neighbors' comments. This used to be called public comment, but we're renaming it to the neighbors' comments. You have a 3-minute time limit per speaker. Any member of the audience may come forward, give their name and address, and state any comment or concern they may have regarding any matter over which the City Commission has control, excluding agenda items. All statements made to the City Commission shall be made to the City Commission as a whole, not directed to any individual City Commission member, and no personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks shall be permitted. No speaker shall be interrupted, and no debate shall occur between the speaker and the City Commission. Welcome, John.
Feeling neighborly. John Fansteel, 448 Harbor Drive South. Good evening. I wanted to thank the Code Enforcement Activity Report that you've been keeping up to date. That's great. It's much appreciated. And special thanks to the Code Enforcement team, especially Mike and Frank, for their excellent work at the recent magistrate hearings on illegal transients. However, the enforcement of Ordinance 2023-02 was slow to be generous by the previous administration. Nearly 3 years have passed, and roughly 75% of our city's estimated 1,300 short-term rentals, about 1,000 properties, are still operating illegally. Residents are frustrated, and their patience is running out. They deserve a clear, aggressive plan with specific milestones to bring every property into full compliance, no later than December 31st, 2026. We don't want to waste another 3 years. If current staffing levels cannot meet this timeline, I urge the Commission to authorize whatever temporary personnel or resources are needed to accomplish it. With our new city manager and city attorney, there's no better time to finish what the Commission started in 2023. I respectfully request that the Commission make a motion tonight to direct staff to return within 30 days with a detailed enforcement plan and a realistic timeline to work towards 100% compliance by the end of the year. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, John.
Excuse me, we're having a hard time hearing.
If everyone could just, you have to speak, actually if you can move the microphone, it does work, it's just if people are not talking into the microphone.
Beth McMullen, 481 Harbor Drive South, and I was going to say the same thing. There's important information that y'all are relaying to us, and we ask that you reach for your mic, put it right in front of your mouth, and please speak up so that we can hear you, because it's really hard. Y'all hear everybody that is this way, but we really have struggled this way. So I'm going to keep saying this every month. I wanted to know if there was an update on the Modco home on Harbor Drive South. It appears to be still renting on Airbnb, and I know it lost its lawsuit, and it's also not in compliance. So I'm just curious as to why it's still allowed to rent. So that's one question. All right, I apologize for the length of this. I'm going to ask if someone will yield their time for me.
Tom McMullen, 481 Harbor Drive South. I'll yield my 3 minutes to that.
The city of Indian Rocks turned into an investor's dream. A few years ago, when investors arrived in large numbers, our city was taken by surprise, unprepared, and overwhelmed. We lacked any enforceable regulations to address the numerous problems and disturbances that followed. Me and my neighbors showed up in large numbers, writing letters to our city officials, attending meetings, standing at this podium, speaking about the problems. Trust in our local government began to erode as residents' multiple pleas for peace, relief, and order were largely ignored. There was very little support, but my neighbors didn't give up. We kept showing up and insisted on being heard. That perseverance resulted in our short-term rental 2024 ordinance that established a fair and solid set of rules intending to bring structure and order and promote greater harmony in our neighborhoods. But instead of cooperating, the investors retaliated with lawsuits. And in response, most of our leaders recoiled. Residents were once again compelled to plead with the mayor and the city commission not to abandon the community, but to stand firm and fight for the city's well-being. However, the lack of support from many of our city leaders was evident to everyone present. This exhausting effort by neighbors raised an important question. When would our leaders actually listen to their constituents and vote accordingly? Despite the fatigue, we persisted and finally secured a vote favoring the residents over the investors. We walked away relieved, feeling that our ordinance had support, was worth fighting for, and would be enforced. However, that enforcement never materialized. Reports of violations went unanswered, and transparency for local government eroded further. As layers were peeled back, me and my neighbors discovered the true extent of the situation. Many short-term rentals were operating without proper authorization, no city inspections, no fire safety inspections, no current VRRs, in some cases no DEPR license. There was no accountability. A short-term renter investor's dream, a neighbor's nightmare. To worsen the situation, residents had to endure a local official who turned against their pleas of enforcement of the ordinance, both at commission meetings and in the media. This is the short version of what has been a very big problem. Add to what I have said, and to a laundry list of violations that include parking, trash, parties, loud gas, etc., is the fact that some neighbors, including me, have personally been threatened with lawsuits, as well as unsubstantiated restraining orders. In addition, a large number of neighbors received a cease and desist letter from an out-of-state divorce attorney threatening legal action if we didn't remove our signs in our yards. Additionally, many neighbors have had their cell phone numbers unlawfully used to intimidate us, warning that our property values would decline if we didn't vote in favor of supporting short-term rentals. We have seen our homes and hotel signs repeatedly stolen from our yards. We found out about an IRB illegal shade meeting, furthering the lack of transparency and the neighbors' distrust. And just recently, a group of short-term rental owners has mocked us on social media. For a community seeking a reasonable set of enforced rules so we can live in peace, we face far too much. Many neighbors have just given up and moved away rather than enduring this situation. So that summarizes our history about this subject, of which many of us are familiar, but some aren't. But I understand it's the city's goal to now move forward. However, the city has been far too lenient for too long when it comes to regulating these short-term rentals. And to move forward, that needs to change if we want to make progress. In March, our former city manager sent a letter to 200 short-term rental owners, granting them a 120-day extension to comply with fire safety inspections. Not only is that long past, that grace period is long past, but we have since learned just how many others are operating their short-term rentals without compliance in the city. Yes, the magistrate hearings seem to be helping some with registration and inspection compliance of a few short-term rentals. Having noted that last month's hearing did see better cooperation for the first time. Regardless, so many are still operating their businesses in violation of our ordinance and without proper safety inspections. How is this being allowed? The city is aware of these violations and the lack of safety inspections. if a tragedy were to occur at one of these non-compliant short-term rentals, what would be the city's liability here? While IRB has a reputation for welcoming tourism, we must also establish a reputation for keeping those visitors safe. Therefore, the city needs also to establish a reputation for strict enforcement of our short-term rental ordinance and no longer exhibit the leniency we've seen until now. Enough is enough. We've all been through so much, and it's time our residents move forward from this. We need to set a firm deadline for all short-term rentals operating in this city to submit the necessary paperwork for compliance, or they should face the maximum fines for operating without proper credentials. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
Linda Newton, can you hear me? 438 Harbor Drive North. So real quick, the Beach Art Center has the calendars up for sale, $20 for 2026, and I'm honored that my artwork's in it. I love the Beach Art Center. Okay, so I'm on short-term rentals too. But one of the things that we can do as citizens of Florida is address it to the state of Florida. And I know you guys are bound to what they say. And I just gave a copy of something I wrote up that I hope that you all will read. Because it started in 2011. And Rick Scott said, oh, it's for lack of home sales. We're going to do this for the neighborhoods so people can rent their homes. But it was all promoted and advocated by Vacation Rentals at that time and pushed it through. And it wasn't recession time. So I want us to know that something that was created can be reversed. The state of Florida needs to be addressed. We have infrastructure challenges now. On my street alone, we have one street with 48 rentals out one drive. You know how many people that is times 10? Do the math. 4 cars at every home, and there's usually 6 or 7, by the way, guys, not 4. And everybody has a golf cart. It's also made it that I don't have new neighbors. My homes that are selling around me, especially after the flood, are LLCs and investors. And this is a tragedy for Indian Rocks Beach, especially in a short-term rental neighborhood, not a single-family neighborhood that I bought in 20 years ago. This was not part of what I bought. I knew you could rent 3 months at a time, and that was the Northerners coming down. We knew them and had fun with them too. But anyway, affordability is gone for any young people with families to live here anymore. And they're the heart of our events. They create the atmosphere, and it's gone. It's not coming back. Workers used to live here in our neighborhoods. They can't anymore. They have to live across the bridge. Anyway, affordability. So neighborhoods are not friendly anymore. You aren't meeting new people. My granddaughter's 13. She won't ride to Brown Park. I will not permit her. I don't know who she's going to pass on that street. So letters to the state of Florida will help. I know right now there's a bill that the short-term rentals are promoting, the VRBOs and the Airbnbs are trying to get through to take away the homeowners associations. Guess what? They're being shut down by them. We need to fight. And I'm sorry, it also has deteriorated the friendship between a lot of us that I was friends with before, because I'm on one side and they're on the other.
Ms. Newton, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Hi, Patty Katz, 124 13th Avenue, Indian Rocks Beach. It's that time again to vote for some incoming people. I see some people here that are running, and of course, people in front of me. I just wanted to outline what I think a good leader is. It's not lost on me that the jobs that you guys have is hard. It really isn't. Try to please everyone. But if you haven't tried to please sides, both sides, maybe by at least getting short-term rental owners to see the value in the rules that we have while living amongst the neighbors, I think that that would bring us together more. than taking a side. And if you have publicly on social media laughed at the residents, I would profess that's probably not a good leader. Just try to look at it like adults and say, what can I do to bring the community together, not divide the community. I personally been on a microphone at a meeting, personally attacked my character, and then found that some of the leaders became best friends with that person. People that don't live here should respect the rules of the residents that do. It's a pretty simple ask. The big ask is to get our leaders to try to bring the community together. Not divide, not take a side that's totally, and laugh at people. It really is just, I mean, it's a discredit to the word leader when people do things like that, really. So I ask the adults in the room, whoever's running, to please try to bring the community together and to not publicly ridicule the residents that live here. You know, we want the best for the community. We're not trying to divide. We're trying to just have a community. I love my neighbors. We walk our dogs. It's like, it's our social time. And I hate to see them leaving. So, again, elections are coming up. I would love to see anybody that's running to tell me how you're going to pull the community.
Ms. Katz?
Thank you. Thank you.
Jerry Newton, Harbor Drive North, 438 Harbor Drive North. I don't know whether it's a chicken and egg or a cart before the horse. We seem to be able to not make real progress on the regulations of short-term rentals because lack of people, lack of funds. This issue was never supposed to be at the cost of the residents or the taxpayers here. Never was meant to be. It's a business. Businesses are not supposed to put a burden on the residential people who live next door. So I don't know whether maybe our fees are not high enough. Maybe we should reconsider some of the regulations that were adopted. Maybe the fees should cover all administrative costs plus a fine or a penalty for the violations. We're not supposed to go in the hole here. And we can't hire more people because we don't have enough money. And we don't have enough money because we're not charging enough fees. Come on, this is all fixable stuff. Let's make progress. The progress we're making now is so slow that it's just draining the energy out of the city. Let's figure out how to fund it, how to make real progress on violations, on enforcement. As we just stated, other people stated, there's huge numbers of STRs operating illegally. We know it, everybody admits it, but we don't do anything about it. At least, I know, Ryan, I want to give you credit, you're brand new here. This is not a new topic for us. This has been years. We've been very patient. Sometime, we need to have a hard deadline, a real deadline, not another 120 days, another 30 days if you're compliant, whatever. Let's have a real deadline for every single one to be operating legally according to the regulations that we know are legal and are enforceable, and get this done. The commission can make this happen by changing, whatever it takes to get the money to make this happen. Thank you.
Hello everyone, Bob Copeland, 445 20th Avenue. Really wasn't here to speak, but thinking about when I was running my business, my comment was bring the answer, not a problem. As well as my gratuitous bottle of Excedrin every Christmas. And so, you know, this short-term rental is a big problem. And everybody's, you know, talking about it. I think you have remedies that you might not have seen or utilized. You know, some of us would say this is a crisis no different than Helene flooding the city, and you don't have the resources and the staff to deal with it. Why you don't have them? Huh. You didn't register them, you didn't collect the money, you can't hire the people, but we're not going to go there. But you have the ability to, just like with the FEMA coming in to help you, this is beyond your capability. For what reason? Who knows? The DBPR regulates every short-term rental. The DBPR has an administrative procedure where they will cite somebody for operating without a license, cite them for operating with an expired license. They have the right to give them a fine, they have the right to suspend, they have the right to revoke. A special master can't really revoke their license. Why are we contacting DBPR for emergency assistance? The state fire marshal can shut down any business that day if they don't have the inspection. You don't let restaurants operate on the street. You don't let Holiday Inn operate, Sheraton Sandkey, if they haven't passed their inspections. So you don't have resources, you don't have staff, but that's your resource. And perhaps you should look at that picture as an attempt to resolve what is a massive crisis or a massive problem. You can use whichever word you want to describe it. And get over the hurdle of we don't have money, we don't have staff. Thank you, I wish you all the best.
Thanks, Bob. Who else has a comment this evening? Any comment?
Mayor Hausberg, City Council and residents. My name is Nico Troy. I represent the Indian Rocks VFW. This is our birthday year coming up on January 3rd. We received our charter in 1969. We would like to invite the City Council and all the residents to come out to the VFW that day. We will have festivities happening all day. We have breakfast starting in the morning. We have lunch. We'll have a dinner truck. We'll have bands all day. We would love the community to come out and celebrate with us, the veterans. So that's it. That's all I had to say. Just wanted to thank you guys for your support all these years.
The date again?
January 3rd.
Thanks, Nico. Hey, Scott.
Aloha. Scott Shapiro, 2032 20th Avenue Parkway. I'm probably going to need more than 3 minutes, so John.
John Thayer, 1819 Gray Boulevard. I'll yield my 3 minutes to Scott.
Great. It's been a while since I've been here. This place looks great. Very happy to see everybody here and in person operating from City Hall. It's been a tough year. I know that. So new business. I've heard rumblings from people, and I just want to get it out there that you guys are going to change, obviously, neighbors' comments, public comments. You're changing the way grievances might be aired by us neighbors and residents. And I want to encourage, if that is going to happen, that it be discussed on the dais by you all, because you are the elected officials, not these folks, with all due respect. So before you make changes, please discuss it. Add it to the agenda, talk about it tonight. Old business. This is my 25th year. I've been to a lot of meetings, probably more than any of you in those years. Maybe not so much in the last couple, but we've had a lot of city managers, we've had a lot of issues, we've had a lot of things that we've gotten through as a city, and we can do it again. We need community unity. We need to come together and solve our issues. Back in 2006, and I'm just going to go back in history because this is old business. Tuesday, September 12, 2006, City Commission meetings. I'm reading right from the minutes. One person was here on that commission. Resolution 2006-99, requesting that the city administration develop an emergency cleanup plan for the intercoastal waterway bays and canals in the event red tide is present. Background, the Intercoastal Waterway Management Ad Hoc Committee recommends adoption of Resolution 26 relating to emergency cleanup in the event of red tide. The point I'm trying to make is, before that resolution existed, you had people living on the waterways cleaning up their own dead fish. Elderly people sticking their hands down there, getting sick. It wasn't safe. The only cleanup being done was on the beaches. So we had boards back then. We had a lot of boards. We had historical, we had beautification, we had the Intercoastal Waterway, and we had the beach ad hoc. And those boards were disbanded shortly after our former city, our last city manager got here, because he believed in a more centralized form of government. That needs to change. We need to decentralize it. We can't have all the pressure on all of you all the time by people like us out here. So I'm going to read a letter that I wrote in 2018. I sent it to the city and I read it out loud, and only one commissioner at that meeting made a motion that it be added to the agenda, and that was former Commissioner Robel, and it never got added for discussion on the dais. You all control the dais. You control the agenda. Okay, so if there's something you want to talk about, if you hear an idea out here, let's talk about it. Get it in the sunshine, please. Because that's what you're elected to do. And there's nothing I personally dislike more than hearing I have no comments from commissioners. You have nothing in a month? Nobody's come up to you with a good idea? Come on, there's got to be something. Get out loud. Dear commissioners, the purpose of this memo is to encourage you to consider forming a new board dedicated to the protection of the beaches and waterways of our great city. Again, this was read on July 12, 2018. IRB is dominated by residential use that consists of 1.4 miles square, of which 0.9 is land, 0.5 is water. Approximately 13.2% of the city is recreational and 8.4 is conservation/preservation areas that consist of wet and dry lands. We are a city of diverse, active, and concerned citizens who would greatly benefit from a board that serves to protect and serve our greatest assets so the residents and tourists can benefit from them for years to come. The Intercoastal Waterway Committee, which I proudly served, reviewed policies such as the impact of the reclaimed water, public floating docks, island preservation, red tide cleanup, and other issues that impacted our beautiful paradise. The Beach Management Ad Hoc Committee served proudly to protect and provide evidence-based solutions to issues concerning our beloved public beaches. Sadly, neither of these boards exist today. Volunteer citizen advisory boards are an integral part of American local government. The creation of such boards serves both the legislative, executive, and judicial operations of the city by providing judicious advice from a citizen perspective. Having a board in place to study critical issues, take public testimony, perform research, review findings, discuss, analyze, formulate, and forward a well-developed recommendation to the city and commission can only serve the greater good. If this board was active in 2014, perhaps the waterway debacle would not have been so poorly managed. For anyone that was here during that time, you know what I'm talking about. In 2007, a commissioner wrote to our board where I served as the vice chairman seeking advice on how to create no-wake zones. And while it was highly unpopular, we researched and recommended that there was no reasonable evidence to support this action, and the commission followed our advice and closed the issue. While on the Intercoastal Waterway Committee, and the help of Danny Taylor, I created Resolution 2006-99, otherwise known as the Red Tide Resolution, that provides a solution for waterway cleanups. It's interesting, in 2018 we had a commissioner, actually two up there, that claimed it was nothing more than an idea. They didn't even know this existed, even though I pointed it out to them. I also believe that if this board was in place, perhaps we could have foreseen the need for the customary use doctrine that would have codified our public beach access regardless of the creation of HB 631. That was on the minds back then. A citizen board is designed to build public consensus on controversial issues and provide detailed findings for the commission to review prior to meetings, discussing and voting on a far-reaching issue. A board is designed to address issues of interest and conduct background work on technical and politically sensitive issues. A board that can act on both an administrative and advisory capacity can reduce the burden of the elected city commissioners on issues that should not be decided in one night. As you know, there are many issues that our beaches and waterways have faced in the past and will continue to deal with in the future. The lack of an advisory board that is dedicated to preserving our number one asset, attraction, and namesake is a constraint and weakness for the management of our city and oversight of our natural resources that needs immediate attention. Resurrecting these two boards would help solve future conflicts, protect the environment, and provide wise counsel on issues important to us all. Otherwise, I recommend forming a board that serves both the beaches and the waterways with 7 members and 2 alternates. I believe that a diverse board of citizens is capable of approving beach permits or making recommendations to the city on issues like yoga on the beach.
Mr. Shapiro, I'm sorry.
That's 6 minutes?
Yes.
I only have a little bit more. Anybody else?
I want to get into this.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Flynn, I'm 14 Farmer House Drive.
I appreciate that. I believe that forming this board will help to protect our #1 resource and help build trust between the city and its citizens, shareholders. We are shareholders when it comes to the rights and privileges and diligent management of our resources while assisting in the formulation of good public policy. Now, I understand you guys are possibly going to be talking about forming a board, and I know one commissioner or one person running for commission who's going to be running on the boards, and I know most of you up here I've spoken to at this, and even at Meet the Candidates, and I have even agreed that this needs to happen. So let's form a board to discuss what boards are needed. I will volunteer to be on there, and I will bring people. We will get that board situated, and let's get it going. There's a lot of issues that need attention. Thank you.
Who else has a comment this evening?
Don House, 2104 Beach Cove. So, there's such a thing as good news and bad news. A few years ago, we had a commission that passed an ordinance that allowed short-term rentals. To some people, it was good news. To others, it was bad, vice versa. So, in that light, I just want everybody to know I qualified to run. March might be my last time here. I might be up there. That could be good news, bad news.
Thanks, Don. Does anyone else have a comment this evening? I'm closing the neighbor's comment and moving on to the reports of the city attorney.
I have nothing to report right now.
Thank you. And then the reports of the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. I wanted to just take this opportunity to welcome Robin Gomez to our team, serving as the interim finance director. Robin's been with us a little less than a month. Prior, he served as city manager in Madeira Beach, city manager in Georgia, West Virginia, and auditor in Clearwater. So I just want to welcome Robin to the team, welcome him to the community, and in working with him closely over the past weeks, he's certainly been an asset to the organization. So thank you, Robin.
Thank you. Moving on to reports of the city commission. Jim, do you have anything to report this month?
I do not.
Don?
I do not have anything to.
Hillary?
Well, I'll take the gauntlet from Scott. I actually had a discussion with him, not very recently, but we've heard a lot of ideas today coming from this community. And I don't think it's a bad thing for us to reintroduce the idea of citizen advisory boards. I'd like to put it out there for us to consider. And, the idea of a board to establish boards, okay, it's like a plan to make a plan, but maybe that's something that we need. We have a lot of diverse opinions. We've heard from several of the members, concerns about how we are not really feeling like neighbors anymore. And I know Mr. Henderson is trying to put some new things in place with the city staff and making sure that we're all considering ourselves as neighbors. We have a lot of things that we could address. We've got parking on the agenda today that may come in as phased, or maybe ideas from the community on how we can implement that in the future with more phases. So I'd like to put that out there for discussion if this is the right time or later on in the agenda on the establishment of citizen advisory boards.
Thank you, Hillary. Vice Mayor?
Yes, I recently was able to attend the Florida League of Cities Legislative Conference, and it was quite an eye-opening event. Several of the sessions were manned by former House representatives, speakers of the House, And so they were able to give a lot of insight into how some of the issues that are going to come up this session are going to be looked at. I know several people have asked about Senate Bill 180. There have been some proposals. One was a carve-out that benefited 13 counties. Of course, they were in the Panhandle and were not part of last year's tragedies. It's kind of a feeling that maybe they really don't want to do a lot. So I would think that probably paying attention to what happens in the next few weeks with regards to Senate Bill 180. What has happened is the 3 legislative session committees, and they have been pretty informative on what the big issues are going to be. Obviously, taxation is going to be one of the big ones. So you're going to be hearing lots about that. Right now, there are various proposals coming out of the House that the Senate is looking at as to what may or may not go on a ballot. Let's see, the biggest thing that came out of this also was our priority and policy statements for the 5 legislative committees. I'll just kind of give you an overview. This is available if someone would want a copy. This is my recap of the entire thing. But housing, community development, property taxes obviously was a huge one out of that committee. Revising sections 18 and 28 of 180. Municipal elections, Florida League of Cities is opposing. Taking away the option from a municipality to determine when those elections are. In other words, they would like them all to be in November, which would mean changing what ours would be in many other cities. So again, just these little things that erode the ability for a city to determine what they feel is best for them. Sovereign immunity, that's the one that would raise liability. Biggest thing there, that also then would increase what the insurance that a city has to have in order to offset some of those costs for legal issues. So just a lot of little things that, again, the concern of Florida League of Cities and Suncoast League of Cities is that they are continuing to erode the opportunity for a city to make their own decisions. One of the greatest things that I got out of that, and I forgot to bring it to share tonight, but if you ever want to know how to contact any of the representatives or senators, they have formed a directory for us that not only gives us who that is, what cities, because sometimes you'll see, oh, they're from district so-and-so. Well, that doesn't really tell you what city that they are representing. Also gives you who are their legislative aides, how to contact them not only in Tallahassee, but how to contact them in their home district. So I do have that available. Contact me if there's ever one you want to know. I will be participating in the Florida League of Cities morning call-ins when session starts in January, and the Suncoast League of Cities evening call-ins on Mondays to get the inside scoop on what's happened the prior week, what's going to happen upcoming week. So I'm going to start putting out some updates on, hey, look at this bill, and those ones that I can highlight and say, hey, we really need to take action. So, thank you.
So what's the word on the street on the ADUs?
Well, that was originally put in first bill that was put out there. It hasn't gotten all the way through, but again, that would be one that we really do want to look at, because not only, it's one of those they call a zombie bill, where it didn't quite get through last year, but it really didn't die. And now it's got like another little horn and it's coming back up. So their thing was, they've taken off the fact that it has to be, well, they put in the fact that it has to be a 30-day rental, but the person that owns it does not have to live there. So you give a little, you take away something major. So that's one want to look at, but it hasn't gotten us all the way through the committees.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, I really want to just thank everyone for this wonderful weekend. Our tree lighting was beautiful. The city did a fantastic job of getting that all put together. Action 2000, IRB Home, all the participants and volunteers that pulled that off. It was a wonderful event. It was so well attended, and I was just so grateful to be there. Then the Sunday, our parade, that was a little soggier than we expected, but we rode it out to the end. We threw out a lot of candy, and the participation in that was very nice too. And since this is the last meeting of this year, wow, what a year. A year after the hurricanes, a year of losing our city manager, our attorney, and our finance director. And this boat is still floating. We've got a new city manager, we've got a new attorney, and now we have an interim finance director. And I feel so fortunate to work with all of you. You are a blessing to this city. I know you all work very hard. And even despite what was said this evening, I know that we're on the right track. I know that we can't make things happen overnight. Even if we had a staff with 100 people, we can't force everybody to the table. And it's not our job to do so. We're just going to keep plugging along. And we're going to do our very best. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? I do have a question for the city manager, because I know we've talked about in January about changing the neighbors' comments. Could you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think what I had proposed, and a lot of cities do this, so we wouldn't be unique to do this, but just continuing to do neighbors' comments and continue allowing neighbors, obviously, to speak to the commission, but doing it, just filling out cards so we can organize it, so we can document everybody that spoke. The process will still follow as it does, and allow everybody opportunity to speak, 3 minutes to speak, yield time. That's not certainly an issue. But we just like an organizational kind of opportunity for just, when you come in, you want to speak, just come and see Lauren, fill out a card, we give it to the mayor so you can call up people. And again, it's just a process of continuing, and you'll see on the agenda some of the things we've done, just tightening the meeting, organizing the meeting, and just allowing it to flow naturally. So.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask a question though. Would that prohibit ad hoc participation? I know some people hear what somebody else has to say and then feel like they need to participate.
I mean, there's always an opportunity to run up and fill out a card and just get it, and we can give it to the mayor. We've done that in the past. So again, we're not trying to limit anybody from speaking. We're just trying to create some organization to it. And that way we can document for our minutes. We can have everything kind of filed and all that. But no, if somebody listens to somebody speaking and they're like, oh, that's a great idea, I want to comment on that, certainly they can come up, fill out a card with Lauren. We can just run it over to the mayor, call them up, and that's that. So no, it would not prohibit that.
I have a question. What problem are we solving by doing this, and at what point did this become an issue?
Just a suggestion on how taking what other cities do, and just for our organizational purposes of just trying to create some formality to the neighbors' comments. That way, people are called up and in orderly. You can even let people know who's coming up and who's going to speak, so they can prepare themselves to come up and speak. But again, it's a suggestion. This is totally up to the commission. If you choose not to do it, certainly that's fine. But it was just a suggestion when we were talking about as staff on just how we organize the meeting and how we lay out the meeting. But so the mayor offered an opportunity for me to speak on that, but certainly won't go forward with doing anything unless the commission has agreed to it.
What was the rest of the staff's take on this? I mean,
yeah, I can turn it over to the attorney.
Affected by it. I'm in support of it for several reasons. I know that other cities I represent do it. Mainly, just what he said, it helps with record keeping. It also helps with the organization and it makes sure that if there was somebody that wanted to speak, that they at least were called and given the opportunity. If there is people that want to speak that didn't sign up, my position is we allow anybody to speak at public comment that wants to. It just, I think, it's very rare actually, I think, that when there's a local government that doesn't require some kind of form of sign up before public comment. If we don't get their full name, when they say into the mic when they leave, our minutes aren't corrected and it creates issues with us. So I support it. Sure, go ahead.
It helps staff follow through. So often people will ask a question, and we're not having a discussion here on their question, but it will help staff follow through on any question that you have. And also record keeping and minutes, and it will definitely help me with my minutes, and I can tell you that. So.
Let's talk about it, let's vote. Let's either do the card thing or not. You guys wanna talk about it? Might as well do it while we're here. No?
Sure, yeah.
You want to?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I'll start off. I don't like the idea because it just adds more layers to what we're already doing. We take the minutes of the meeting, people get up and talk, get their name. I don't think it would make it any more efficient than it already is, because they do a wonderful job of what you're doing right now. So that's my opinion.
Let's just say if you are going to take a formal vote on it, we'll need a motion to add it to the agenda, to amend the agenda. A second to vote on that, although it seems redundant, it is what's needed because of the agenda set prior to the meeting. My suggestion would be that if it's something you give us a general consensus of where you feel, and if it's something we think needs a vote, we'll bring it back at the next meeting on a published agenda.
All right, so do you need a motion to add it to next month's agenda?
I don't need a motion to add it to next month's agenda, but if you're going to consider and vote on it tonight, we would need a motion to add it. I prefer that things aren't added without notice, so people in the community want a chance to speak on it, they would have that notice at least. But you're not prohibited from taking action on it tonight, but you would need a formal vote.
But you're also recommending that we could just have a discussion and get a general
Yeah, I think a
consensus.
discussion and a general consensus, and
We get on this yet.
probably argument that it's within the city manager's discretion to require signups or not, but I think he would, and I would want your direction, but I mean, you can see that the 3 charter members of your staff are suggesting it for our benefit in the organization. That's all I have.
Are you guys prepared to vote on this evening, or do you want further time to research?
I like the idea of waiting until next month so that we can talk to people and get input. So, yeah, I think doing it blindly now is not a good idea.
I agree.
You okay with that, John?
Yes.
Okay, so we would like that added to the
Very
January
good.
agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good comments. Very good, thank you.
So if we're ready to move on, we're going to move on to the work session items, the paid parking implementation.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mayor and Commission. Hetty will be helping with going through the slides. So, wanted to bring this as a work session item to talk to you about paid parking in Indian Rocks Beach. So prior to me getting here, Hetty, you can go to the next slide to kick this off. This was a conversation that I know has actually happened for a number of years in this city. But most recently, there was a conversation in October, prior to me arriving, with the interim city manager about paid parking in Indian Rocks Beach. So I wanted to be, certainly cognizant of that discussion. I even had conversations with the city attorney leading up to that discussion and telling him, when I would arrive and start working with staff, this would be top of the list, and talking to staff, getting feedback from staff, and then coming to you with a work session item to talk about direction on this. But in reviewing the meeting and the minutes and just the individual conversations I've had with some of you, my impression is that this is something that this commission wants to go forth on. The question is just how do we implement it, right? And what are the mechanisms for us to do so? But it was clear from the last meeting that this is something that was on the top of your mind and something that you wanted to see move forward, at least in discussions, and allows staff to come back with a method to implement it. The other thing that was quite clear was that this commission had no desire to charge residents, our neighbors, to park in a paid parking spot. That the decal that we administered through the program here in Indian Rocks Beach would suffice for parking freely at those paid spots, if we were to move forward with paid parking. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about, and this is really one of the bigger decision points, and what was presented to this commission. We talked about the number of parking spots public parking spots within the city of Indian Rocks Beach. My recommendation, and with conferring with staff, is that if we were to move forward with this, that we would pilot the program. Not so much pilot implementing long-term paid parking in Indian Rocks Beach, but piloting the logistics, the mechanisms for us fully implementing paid parking and to get it up and rolling. What my recommendation is that if we were to implement paid parking in the city of Indian Rocks Beach, we'd start with the beach access spots only. We'd focus on the 182 public parking spots along our beach access points. What I'm suggesting is that we implement it for a 6-month period, and then in 6 months come back and we're able to talk about this program, talk about the successes, some of the things that we need to improve on, some of the things that we've learned about it, and then make adjustments if the commission wants to move forward with implementing paid parking in the other areas that are parks and in the business area. But my recommendation is that we start with 182 public spots located along the beach access. And again, the piloting of the program allows for us to implement it, get it going, and assess the program, and make applicable changes as well, as necessary based on the community's feedback, staff's feedback, and certainly the commission's feedback. But it would be a 6-month period. And so that is the big decision point that I'm asking the commission to consider, is that we would start this off as a pilot of the paid parking program throughout the city of Indian Rocks Beach. But there are a number of business items too that we would need to consider as well. Pricing. Okay, so there was a number of different comments made about the pricing and what the pricing would look like in a paid parking spot. I believe that staff at the last meeting shared some of the numbers from other communities, but and there was also discussion too on the county lot that's currently $2.50 for anybody to park at. Residents, neighbors and visitors have to pay that uniform price. In talking with the county, in part of their maximum allowed for their fiscal year 26 fee schedule, they are willing and they can go up to $4.50. So in an email tomorrow, I could send something to the county administrator asking them to raise it to $4.50, and they would do that. That would yield about $100,000 more for us that we would collect in revenue just alone on that. My suggestion and recommendation is that we create a uniform price through this pilot program in Indian Rocks Beach and setting the pricing at $4.50. And it's a business term discussion, it's a policy discussion we can talk about, but that is our recommendation, that we create a uniform price throughout the city, $4.50. It's reasonable with the other communities, it's not exorbitant, but it's also, it would give us, we would start seeing that revenue, collecting that revenue, and being able to program those dollars. The system, another thing that was talked about. My recommendation is that we go through Park Mobile. And piggyback on the existing contract, Bel Air Beach uses Park Mobile, the sheriff's office. When they enforce parking at Bel Air Beach, they know the system. And so we would be able to get in on that contract. My recommendation is that we do not use cash or points for parking, that we use an app, do electronically, digitally, for a number of different reasons. One is that in the past when we've done, and staff can talk more about this, but we've had problems when it's come to cash and jamming systems and things like that. It just, we're in the 21st century. I mean, everybody's got a smartphone, and it makes sense for us to just go through Park Mobile and the existing contract and what other cities are also using in this area. Enforcement. What would that look like? So the enforcement will be led by our code compliance team. The sheriff's office will also assist with this. So the sheriff's office will be able to cover the hours. We're talking with the captain. They'll be able to cover the hours that our staff aren't working in their daily routine. Obviously, our code team is they're busy. They're working hard on a number of different fronts. This would be added to their list of things that they'd have to do. But we would get support from the sheriff's office as well on that. And then the hours. How would you want to move forward on the hours? Staff recommends 6 to 10, but I also understand that we could very well go up to 11 p.m. as well. And again, the sheriff's office would cover those hours that staff aren't in. But pricing, $4.50, system, Park Mobile, enforcement, our team, sheriff's office, hours, 6 to 10. Certainly we can go up to 11 as well. And then what we'll learn through the program. So the idea that in 6 months' time we'll have data and use collection. We'll be able to ascertain, what information are we collecting, what data are we getting, and what do our revenues look like up to that point, be able to project long term. We're also then going to be able to determine neighborhood effects. What happens when we implement this program? Is there spillage, east of the boulevard? We'll be able to determine that, kind of figure out what that looks like, and adjust the program, adjust our abilities to go out and make sure that we protect our neighborhoods if that's the case. Enforcement advocacy, how's our enforcement going? Are our code guys able to go out there and take care of this? Sheriff's office, but we'll be able just to monitor that, understand where we are with the enforcement of that, and make sure that we're enforcing this program adequately. And then a plan for programming dollars. When that revenue comes in, what do we do with that? And my recommendation, and this will come up obviously when we start talking about the budget, but there's a need for us to put that money back into our resiliency efforts and our infrastructure in this community. We don't have a stormwater fee. We're one of the few communities that don't tax our neighbors stormwater assessment fee. But we have stormwater needs. We have almost $13 million worth of stormwater needs. This money paid for by visitors using a public asset would go back into that public asset and go to preserving that public asset and going towards the resiliency of this community and our infrastructure. That's my big recommendation too for those dollars. Again, we'll talk about that when we get towards the budget, we start assessing what everything looks like. But that's something that I think in assessing where we are and what we need money for, it's certainly for the resiliency, environmental resiliency of this community and protecting our stormwater infrastructure. And then why implement? Paid parking ensures efficient use of parking spaces. I've heard from a lot of people that have called about people coming in and utilizing that space all day, hogging the space. The idea is that it gets turnover too. You start getting people in and out of those spaces. It provides revenue for infrastructure, as I mentioned, and it provides and promotes fairness and equity. Our residents obviously pay taxes here. Their dollars go into the community and to protecting our public asset, greatest asset in general. And but this also allows us to welcome visitors to use our beach. Indian Rocks Beach is the best beach in Pinellas County, right? And visitors come here for a reason. But we want to preserve that beach too, right? And we want to preserve the infrastructure that supports that beach. So those dollars would be able to go back into it and keeping it the asset that it is. So I know that there's been a lot of talk over the years about this, about getting it going. I think the political will, just assessing from all of you at the last meeting, is there to implement it, and we're ready to. We can get what this would look like in terms of an action item. Because this is a work session. I want to get your feedback. I want to hear what everybody has to say about this and feel about this. But we would need to bring an ordinance to adjust our fee schedule. So that would be a vote on the fee. And then we would have a contract with Park Mobile to implement the meters in the public spots. But I really, at this point, I open it up for discussion. A number of staff have looked at this, so I welcome comments, feedback, questions, concerns. But I want also direction. Where do you want to go? Do you want to move forward on this? Do you want us to start this program, start working with Park Mobile to get a contract before you and start working on adjusting our fee schedule to bring forward you for a vote? Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. I guess, yes, that's the thing, is are we in agreement with how they want to step the pilot program out? Are we in agreement with the $4.50 an hour?
These are a couple of questions.
Please, I want to record everybody. So what do you think, Jude?
Just because we can go to 450 doesn't mean we should. I was pretty happy at 4. As far as Park Mobile, I think that's really sensible, because of course anybody driving around can see what spots are or not available. Hopefully we'll cut down on all of the driving around back and forth in circles. I get the purpose of the pilot program, but it seems unbold. But, that's...
Not bold enough?
Yeah. Less bold than we could. So, but again, just because we can do something doesn't mean we should, as evidenced by the 450.
And certainly, this isn't capping us at not going forth on the other public spots. This just allows us to get going, get started, and this is the feedback that I've received, and kind of this is the pressure point, these beach access points. But I understand the comment too. I mean, there are other public parking spots throughout the city that we certainly can go forth and do. But I was just trying to get our feet underneath us and get going on this. That was the idea, is they could just start at the beach access, get that rolling, and go forth.
It's going to push everybody across the street, though, which is where we don't want them. So, we can take them, but I want to charge them. I don't know. It seems like it could have less than optimal results.
And I would certainly understand that, and that would be something that we would monitor and evaluate too.
And I kind of like 8 to 8 too. But that's just me. So everybody, that's
John,
my thinking.
what are your thoughts?
The 450 an hour, I don't have any problem with that. I'd like it to be more, in my opinion, like 8. But I think the general consensus here is around that 450. Park Mobile's a good app. I've used it before. We should keep it electronic. I don't believe we should use coins and cash and all that. That's just crazy. 8 to 10 p.m. is good for me. Let's implement it right now, but I don't think we can, so.
Come on, John, I'm bold.
So, I'm all for it. It all looks good to me. Looks good, Ryan.
Hillary?
So I think I misunderstood the hourly, but I'm fine with 450. I think what was published in the package was $4. I think that's what we discussed last time, but 450 is fine. I'm with John, more is better at this point, but also what Jude's point is well taken. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, at least for a pilot. I'm curious, we've got some things that we want to learn. A couple of these items are incredibly objective, black and white, easy to measure. I'm not exactly sure how we would measure before and after of neighborhood effects, and I think we're going to be pushing people into the neighborhoods, which is already a problem during our peak season. So I think we really want to consider how we deal with the street parking. And I understand with Cole Park that we have some things we need to do to be prepared to have paid parking there, but that's another really tough point, especially when we get back in the season and the pickleballers are here and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I think that one of the concerns with Cole Park is too, is just the baseball and the Little League. And we had some concerns expressed about what that would look like for the teams that would come in and play here. So I was also too asking kind of just for a little bit more time to figure that out. If we were to move forward and putting parking meters there. But yeah, that's certainly something that we're very cognizant of.
Yeah, I understand there's some restrictions there, but I think that's really an urgent need as well, because that's so congested. And I understand, we don't want to be pushing our little league players out and their families, definitely not. But I'm just curious how we're going to measure neighborhood effects and enforcement efficacy. I think we need to understand that. I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't go forward, but what are we measuring exactly to know whether we did a good job or a bad job?
Yeah, I mean, it's complaint driven. We have no parking signs throughout. I know you can kind of probably talk about, well, off the top of his head, where kind of that no parking zones are, those signs that are up on the streets. But yeah, and I haven't experienced obviously peak season, right? So I mean, it's going to be my first peak season and my first opportunity to lay eyes on it and understand it and talk to neighbors about it. But
be prepared not to be able to turn left on Gulf Boulevard from any neighborhood. I mean, in general, I'm in favor of a pilot. I understand that we have restrictions in other areas. We want to understand how well this works and what reaction we get. So I'm in favor of the pilot. I just am asking some of these things that we really consider. What are we measuring and how do we measure it?
I just wanted to add that I'm in favor of the pilot too. That way we can add things, take things away, see how it does.
I don't remember if I mentioned this last time too, but as far as street parking goes, I think I floated the idea of having no street parking at all unless you have a city sticker, in which case you can park on the street as one normally is always done. But that hopefully would manage the STR parking issue on the street. I just don't know from a compliance standpoint, that might be tricky. But, you just have to look. But the sticker thing seems to me to sort of solve a lot of the troubles.
Yeah, and I think, Dunedin has done that, and especially during the spring training season, but they also allow residents to get temporary passes for their family and guests. I mean, I don't know about everybody else, my driveway holds 2 cars. When I have Thanksgiving at my house, everybody's parked on the street, so we have to think about residents as well. I guess that's my point. If we want to go to that no parking unless you have stickers or some way to accommodate temporary guests of the residents.
You move your car out to the street, let them have your, I mean, that's what we do.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying we don't do that, Jim,
Yeah.
and that's perfect, except for, like, there's 2 spots in my driveway, and my Thanksgiving is 30 people usually, so somebody else is gonna be in the street. And that's just me, I'm not saying that to be selfish, and I'm sure others here have similar issues. Our lots are generally kind of small, our driveways are small, so we try not to impact our neighbors, but sometimes we do.
I like the idea of the pilot, although I really would just like to go full force. But I understand that it's much better to work out the glitches in a smaller.
That's exactly what I'm asking. I'm asking for the grace to be able to get this going, because this is a big change, right, in this community. And but allowing us, again, hasn't dawned on, or it's been apparent. We have great staff, but we have a small staff. So I want to get it going. I want to be able to assess it, and then come back and say, okay, this is what we've learned. But this gets us moving forward. This gets us going, and I think that's really what we're trying to achieve here.
I would like to see though the nature preserve included in that first round, because technically a lot of people use that as beach parking, and I believe it is very abused. It's one of those areas that I really think if someone's paying, they'll take more respect for it. So I would ask that that section be included in that first initial trial.
Give us a taste of the other side of the street.
Yes, and it does, yeah, because it's a mess.
Any other good spots? I mean, as long as we're adding
By the marina or by the city docks.
over by the Holiday Inn.
Yeah, there's that small.
They've got 15 spots over there, I think, 12, something like that. You could put those there too.
We're not out on the streets
See.
yet. We're put those two lots.
Any others?
Becoming more bold.
Which is easy. And yes, 450 is fine. Park Mobile, I think, is a great idea. Anything that, we can save a few bucks getting into this. And I do like the idea of putting out there immediately the infrastructure, the stormwater as being a goal for getting that. So let's go. Let's get it done.
Mayor.
Yes.
I would just like that, I like the pilot program idea as well, mainly so we can make sure that we can enforce this from a staff standpoint, and if not, that we have time to implement staff, because they are spending a lot of time on short-term rentals, which is a priority, that I don't want to have another ordinance that we're trying to enforce that we don't have the manpower to enforce, that, is creating problems. So I think the pilot will allow us to determine what staff is needed if we went to a larger scale. So that's another reason that we're asking for the pilot program.
Thank you. I mean, that makes sense to me. I knew that implementing it, in the entire city was going to be a much bigger undertaking than just throwing up some signs, Park Mobile, and you're done.
Yeah.
So, to me, the beach accesses probably are the most abused parking spots where, like we were talking about, people park and they stay for 11 hours. So I think probably we need to formulate some language we put on the street when we implement
Sure,
the beach
absolutely.
access parking about like where not to park.
Yeah. No, thank you, Mayor. And there will be a communication, push on this. Jeff's here. Jeff's written about this already about us kind of, but we are one of the last cities, right?
Yes.
I mean, if not the last. So I think it's certainly due. The time is right, and but I also appreciate too just the understanding of wanting to just let us phase this in, let us get this going, see what this looks like, see what the feedback is from everybody, community, staff, commission. I received a number of calls, and I really appreciate neighbors that have reached out to me. Haven't received anybody that's not in favor of this, that knows about this. But with, certainly folks have different ideas, but I think in the 450, to Commissioner King's point, once I actually learned from the county that they would go up to 450 on the county lot, that's why I changed it from $4.50, just to make it uniform throughout the city.
But they would go to 4 if we asked for that.
They would, yeah. They just would not go above 450. So, actually, Robin, do you have the difference between $4 and $4.50 on the county?
Well, just that the county park, taking into account the collections over the last 5 fiscal years, going up to $4 an hour from $2.50 generates about an additional $75,000. Again, based on actual collections in the last 5 fiscal years, increasing to $4.50 is a little over $100,000. Again, just those 74 or so spaces at the county lot. So even if the decision was just to ask the county to increase the rate, the city would still receive some additional revenue. And keep in mind that the city receives 40% of the collections at the county park. The county keeps up 60%.
And so again, that's just the county, right? So that's not, but that just kind of gives some context on what that, that difference looks like for those spaces. And, but certainly, that's a policy decision on the price. Trying to, I understood Commissioner Bigelow's position last meeting, try to strike something that to me was reasonable with the other communities, while also not leaving dollars on the table for us. Again, ideas immediately to go back into the beach maintenance of our parks and our infrastructure.
Thank you.
If I may, Mayor Commission, sorry to interject, I misspoke, it's 60% that comes to the city, 40% to
We need to
Excuse me.
renegotiate that.
My apologies.
Thank you.
Also, just to add to what Mr. Henderson stated, we really don't have we can estimate and project what the revenue could be from 180 spaces, but that's really where the pilot will help to determine what that revenue could
Right.
be. I mean, it's likely going to be hundreds of thousands, but we don't want to speculate. We're kind of projecting very conservatively. But back to what the city attorney stated, that to go to the rest of the city, whether we need additional enforcement or what that may look like from the pilot program, certainly that would come out of the revenue collected. It would not impact the general fund. My recommendation also is that to the city manager is that we will create a parking fund that will account for all the revenue and all the expenditures and make transfers for stormwater projects, et cetera, as we go forward with the future budgets.
And Robin, what does that cost to Park Mobile per hour?
So,
Do they charge like 25 cents?
right, it ranges anywhere from, I believe, the low of 25 cents to as much as 45 cents, and that's per session. So somebody pulls in,
Okay.
pays for 3 hours, it's going to be $13.50 for the 3 hours plus 35 cents or 45 cents. That revenue, that portion would come to the city. We would then remit that to Park Mobile. The city is not paying those 35 cents or 45 cents. Each user is paying that when they pay to park. Will we have some people state that may be, we may have some say that, but it's been very, this is the third city that I've been in where having these discussions, and very, really the concerns come from visitors stating, oh, well, I've been somewhere else, I didn't have to pay to park. That will no longer be the case, at least along this coast here.
Right.
Because currently Indian Rocks is the only city where you can park without paying for this many spaces.
Right, thank you. So now I'd like to open it up for public comment. Does anyone have a comment about paid parking?
Dan Mansford, 442 Harbor Drive North. Talked about it being no cost to residents. I don't know how we're gonna enforce that. Right now, we have 2 vehicles per household are allowed. I think that's reasonable. Some people might want 4 or 5 stickers for cars, but I think keeping it at 2 is a good idea, at least through the trial. So that was my concern there, that was addressed.
Thank you.
Hi, Kelly Watt, 431 Harbor Drive South. I did have a question on the number of parking spots, the 182. Does that include the golf cart spots?
No, it excludes the current golf cart space.
I think then that should be part of the discussion. If we are going to leave the golf carts, I mean, there's several at every access, at least 4, I'm thinking, somewhere around that. So I think we probably need to factor that into the discussion. Do we want those to remain free parking spots? Or do we want those to be paid parking spots? I think that should be calculated. I don't think we should do nothing with those. I think we should make a decision one way or another, whatever you guys decide. My vote would be still a parking spot and they should pay. That would be my thought. Thank you.
I was going to also mention the golf cart issue, because a lot of people will drive a golf cart and use a car space, and there's got to be a rule. You know, you got to deal with that up front. And secondly, I know in other cities, from my experience, they'll have maybe a $4.50 an hour, but all day $15, $18 or something, so, because otherwise you're gonna have people pay the $4.50, go to the beach and forget about it, or whatever. Maybe have to run back and plug in another $4.50 or whatever, but if you give them the option right off the bat, oh, all day, $15, they're gonna go ahead and take that option so they don't have to worry about it. I've seen that in other cities and it seems to work well.
Lane Vaughn, 301 Harbor Drive. First of all, I commend you. This is something that does need to happen. It's way past due. I do like the pilot idea. I do wish it was a little more aggressive and the money was a little more higher. One of my concerns is I do live across from Brown Park. My concern is that when they start paying for parking, we're going to push these citizens or neighbors or visitors into the neighborhoods. I already see it at Brown Park. Years ago when I was a city commissioner, I'd had a conversation with Greg because an elderly man that lived in our neighborhood could not find a place to come to the Brown Park. So one of my suggestions would be if we do this, we look at no beach parking for Brown Park or no beach parking for the park across the street. Spent my life looking for cheap parking, and I would probably be one of the ones that would look forward to taking advantage of that as well. So just a small suggestion, but again, I'm looking forward to seeing this happen. In closing, we pay the sheriff a lot of money. I appreciate that, you know, our guys are working, they're diligent, they're hard. I would try and push back on the sheriff and have them monitor this 100% of the time. We do pay a lot. Do you know how much we pay them annually on the budget?
1.4 million.
I think they can afford to do it. Thank you.
Matthew Mullen, 481 Harbor Drive South. Okay, what Lan said about the sheriff, I don't get the impression that things like this are their priority. They have other things that they're dealing with. So, and I honestly think our code enforcement is stretched to the limit. At this point, they have so much to do, and I know there's a huge backlog of things that they need to get through with these short-term rentals, and to put this on them on top of everything, I just think it's a mistake. We're asking too much for them. So I agree with Lan about the sheriff. We would need them to step up and make sure that they do their job here. I want to ask about the fine. How much would they be fined? I believe Bob Copeland mentioned it last month, and said unless the fine is significant, some people will just look at the fine as just a day at the beach. So has that been discussed? Also, this is a 6-month pilot program?
Yes, the intent would be to come back in 6 months and then present our findings.
Is that too long?
I mean, I think 6 months is reasonable for us to kind of get our bearings. I mean, we're gonna need to get it up and running, get a contract with Park Mobile, get 2 readings on the fee schedule. No, I don't believe it's too long.
I think I agree with the pilot program. I do think we need to be organized and methodical about this, and so I think that's a great idea. I just kind of worry about them coming into the neighborhoods for those 6 months, so that's why I mentioned that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Wilkerson, 490 Harbor Drive North. First of all, thank you for bringing this up. The parking is something that residents, we've lived here 37 years, that have been talking about for a lot of years. To answer somebody said, I think we're the last, or one of the last, we are the last beach in Pinellas County to have free parking. As a matter of fact, and I did this today, if you Google free and cheap, you Google it right now, it will come up Indian Rocks Beach. Not exactly the branding that we were hoping for, right? So free and cheap is not what we're after, but that is what's there. And I would say It's not free and cheap, it's just been on the backs of the residents and the businesses for these many years, and we've probably let millions of dollars fly away and sift through our fingers. But we can only move forward. I like the pilot program, fine. I do believe it's gonna be it's going to be imperfect information, because I think those people that, like Lon just said, he spent his life looking for cheap parking, they're going to find their way to the neighborhoods. They will walk that half mile, they'll limp that half mile to get there for that free parking. So is there a way to do the pilot and have it 182 and then maybe 80% of the 192? In other words, make it a bold statement, a bold, we've waited all these years. Why not go ahead and do it? I think the revenue information you're going to get is going to be skewed, because those people are going to find their way to the neighborhoods. They're not going to park. They're not going to pay to park. So, just a couple of things. Thank you. Let's not be cheap and free any longer.
City Manager Ryan. I've lived in several areas around Pinellas County, as well as Anna Maria. I've lived in St. Pete Beach, where they're aggressively bold in their enforcement of no parking. So if you parked at the beach parking, and then you decide to park in Publix parking lot, within 5 minutes your car's gone. And St. Pete Beach reeks some of that benefit of who picks up that car. In Anna Maria Island, if you drive out to the end of the island, you don't find anybody parking in your areas. There are signs there. You have to have a permit. You can't find a place to park on the streets out the end of Anna Maria Island. It is beautiful. There's public parking you can pay. They aggressively enforce parking on the street, as you said, with the signs that say no parking and permits. So I encourage the boldness of aggressively enforcing the no parking. And if you're just sitting there all day taking up the fine, aggressively enforcing that as well. Let them pay the fine, and part of that comes back to the city. You have towing companies that would, like the 60/40, split the cost with you of, I'm going to tow your car, to get it back it's this much, and I'll give the city this much money. Just an idea.
Thanks, Nico. Anyone else?
Good evening, Dave Block, 431 Harbor Drive South. I just I'm sorry if this has been answered and I missed it, but what are the 187 or the 182 spots we're talking about for all the beach access? Is that a total of only the ones that will be paid, or is that inclusive of all spots, including the resident permit spots?
Those are the only ones that would be paid.
Okay,
So the residents part spots would remain.
Okay, I just didn't know there was 187. I want to make sure they weren't accidentally washed together.
Yeah, 182.
Or whatever, my. And then I was still a little confused on the golf cart issue. Maybe it's just not settled yet, or I didn't pick up on it. I think I kind of agree with what's kind of be said. They really need to be, in my opinion, we all see these. They're really not what we consider golf carts. These are electric vehicles now. I mean, some of them seat way more than my big Suburban. And so I don't know if there's been thought, like I don't know, I know that some of them have to be licensed to, I guess, drive Golf Boulevard. So I don't know, do we allow residents to put one of their tags on their golf cart to be used?
Yes.
Okay, I don't have a golf cart, so those are my questions. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes.
Ann Lopez, 337 12th Avenue. Couple points. One, regarding Park Mobile, it'll just tell you when you're about to expire, so that's not a problem. Second of all, regarding how much it costs, and I speak from experience as of 2 days ago, I put in the wrong thing, and it was $10, which I have to be honest, that would be an incentive to park all day for $10. So that's kind of something that you probably need to address with Park Mobile. I was fined $10.30 for parking in Daytona, for getting to put the right tag in. I paid for the number of things. But we own Neptune Surf Shop, and we can't expect our girls to be the parking police out there. And people, if they, you've got to really regulate parking in the neighborhoods, because people will come and they will park there. Another thing, since 12th Avenue is becoming vacant land, people are parking in the vacant spots. I mean, in vacant land. I mean, it just, all the rock houses went down, another house just went down, and make no mistake, people are pulling right in there to park. So, you've got to make sure that we don't force people to go into the neighborhoods and park, because that will, be creating a problem for the residents, which we don't want to do. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Hey, Arby.
Hey guys, Arby Johnson, 1206 Beach Trail. I just wanted to bring up one part of this issue that hasn't been addressed, at least openly here tonight, and that's parking overnight. Up until several years ago, for many, many years, all the signs, the parking signs on the accesses explicitly said, no parking after 11 p.m. The parking was right till 11 p.m. and then that was it. And then several years ago, when those signs were changed, now there's no time limit. So now somebody can come and park there 24 hours a day, and so people do that. Obviously, if there's going to be a parking limitation or parking fee during the day, that's going to put a crimp on people who are thinking about using that as a permanent parking space for whatever purposes. But if you're going to have paid parking during the course of most of the day and into the evening, I would strongly suggest that after that there be no parking at all, because very little good happens late at night on the beach, especially with large groups of people or groups of kids who come across the other side of the bridge that they have for years when they could, and hang out on the beach, especially on weekends or summer nights and whatnot. If you live on the beach or anywhere near the beach, you know what I'm talking about. Our beach is open 24 hours a day. No one's ever talked about closing the beach in the middle of the night. Nobody cares if an individual is walking up and down the beach in the middle of the night or fishing out there. But there's no reason to give an incentive for people to come out there and hang out and make that a party place after 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. So please, whatever you do, be cognizant of that issue, because it's a big issue for folks who live on that side of the boulevard. Thank you.
Thank you, Arby.
John Thayer, 1819 Bay Boulevard. We talked a lot about this parking 3 or 4 years ago, and to the point where we even were going to ban parking on the street anywhere like Bel Air. We managed to tamp that down, but the whole thing was trying to get people not parking on the east side of Gulf Boulevard from the beach. I can guarantee you that you're going to have neighborhoods full of people as soon as you start charging. So you're going to have to address, somehow you're going to have to address that. I live 3 blocks from the beach. The first round was no parking signs on First Avenue, and that didn't bother anybody too much. The second round was a bunch of no parking on Second Avenue, the Second Avenue end, because they would go back a block. Now, it doesn't have to be a holiday weekend. Year-round, I have cars parked on our street, and they get right out of the car and walk straight up to the beach, because I can look up 19 for the water. Okay? And it doesn't even faze them. On a holiday weekend, they'll be trying to find spots all over the place. On a normal weekend, even off-season right now, there's several. Every once in a while, there's several on a Saturday or Sunday. So I guarantee you it's going to push people way back in the neighborhoods if they don't want to pay, if they don't have to. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'm closing the public comment. So, do you want a motion?
No, I got your feedback.
Okay.
And so what we would look at doing in January, we're bringing a amendment to an ordinance changing the fee schedule. So that would be an action item. I think I got enough consensus on 450. So that would be an action item. And then we would look at doing in January, we're bringing a amendment to an ordinance changing the fee schedule. So that would be an action item. I think I got enough consensus on 450. So that would be an action item. And then we would look at doing in January, we're bringing a amendment to an ordinance changing the fee schedule. So that would be an action item. And then we would then also work on bringing a contract with Park Mobile. to
And then
support
are
it.
we gonna charge golf carts that don't have a sticker?
Yes, I think that if they're able to get a decal for that sticker, then that would be
Yeah.
the process for
Okay.
it, so. Yeah, they can use one of their decals for their golf cart if they don't want to.
Okay.
If
So
I-
you want an agreement, does anybody have any questions?
If I may add one, the current fine per your code of ordinances is $75. However, going forward, we'll likely take a look, and the pilot will help that. Other cities currently have as much as $90 a fine for improperly parking. So $75 or whatever that amount currently is would be for somebody not paying to park in one of the 182 plus spaces, but based on the comments, somebody were to park in one of the neighborhood streets, they could conceivably receive a $90 parking ticket. That's a pretty high amount, which is currently what a few other cities in the area have. So that would be, for some, a deterrent where you could pay $20 to park for 4 hours or 5 hours on an actual space.
Okay. So do we have to decide what the fine is?
I like the 90.
150.
No, right, yeah, I mean, that's not a good time right now, so.
Okay.
That would need to go on a future agenda.
I agree.
This is to get feedback on moving forward with, paid parking implementation, so we'll come before you with action items.
It could go with the next vote because it's also a fee schedule change, right?
Yes.
I
Yeah,
think we
it's
should
just-
be considering it and do this at one time, not in increments.
Yeah, we can consider it, we can't take a vote tonight. on
No,
it.
not tonight, I mean for the next.
Direction, sure.
Yeah, but I don't want to kick that can down the
Okay.
road, let's just make sure it's included in the fee schedule update
An
to the
increase.
proposed ordinance.
Do we want to have a quick conversation about what that number might be?
Yeah, I'm with John.
150? No, okay. No, I mean, 75 is still kind of harsh, but whatever.
No, I'm good for 150.
Oh. That's rough.
I mean, we could also look at what other cities charge, right, to be somewhat comparable with
Yeah,
other cities.
yeah.
Well, I think Robin said 90 is not atypical.
Not atypical.
Non-negotiable,
We could make it 100.
so I like that.
That's close to 90.
I like
How
100.
about if you give me 4 for an hour?
I mean, it definitely would be a deterrent.
100's good.
Well, we'll settle on a number, maybe 100, and then we'll see how, you can vote on it, and they can change it as an action item to vote on. But understood, we will come back with an adjustment to the fee for parking on the street.
Okay,
Okay? Thank you all.
thank you. All right, so if we move on to additions and deletions, Lauren, we do have a deletion this evening.
Yes, we have a deletion on item 7B. The Board of Adjustment case 2025-06.
Yes. Sorry.
That's-
Yeah,
yeah, that's right.
Out of line. So, business item 7, D is going to be, it won't be a deletion.
A reschedule?
Yes, so I would ask that we have a motion to reschedule it to January 13th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Since we published it and noticed it for tonight, and it was asked to be continued by the applicant board. So we don't have to republish or renotice. We're going to have a vote to move it and hear it on January 13th meeting at 6 p.m. And this public meeting will count as the notice.
Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion that we move Board of Adjustment case number 2025-06 to the January commission meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. Could I have a motion to approve the November 12th regular city commission meeting minutes?
I make a motion that we approve the November 12, 2025 regular city commission meeting minutes.
And a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we're moving on to the public hearing. This is BOA case 2025-05. This is quasi judicial proceeding. The property is 26810 Gulf Boulevard, Indian Rocks Beach, Florida. The request is a variance request for section 110-131, 5F of the Code of Ordinances of 14 feet into the required 25-foot front yard setback, resulting in a total front yard setback of 11 feet and 5.7 feet into the required 7-foot side yard setback, resulting in a total side yard setback of 1.3 feet for the installation of a carport. The legal description is Driftwood Sands condominium according to plat thereof as recorded in Plat Book 62, page 106, Public Records of Pinellas County, Florida. It's parcel number 01-30-104-122-615-000-0001. I am opening the public hearing, and I would like for Hetty to take over.
Yeah, anybody that wants to testify, that's it, please stand, raise your right hand. You swear and affirm to tell the truth under penalty of perjury?
Stated, this is at 2618 Gulf Boulevard. The Driftwood Sands condominium. This is the survey for the lot for the existing parking that's outside, that is not underneath the building. And what they want to do is put a carport that would cover all this parking, and the areas in red here are the areas that would encroach into the front setback and the side setback. This is everybody else has covered parking except for these 9 spots on that. This is looking north on Gulf Boulevard. And there's the cars that you see right there that would like to be, have the carport over it. This is looking southeast from 27th Avenue. Just another view. It's the beach access parking area. The vegetation around that. This is going south. This is the corner lot right there. Cars are parked behind there. And that's where they're proposing carport. And this is just an example of the Dolphin Reef, where they have a similar type carport that they have utilized on their lot. To give you an idea. Do you have any questions?
What was the BOA vote on this?
Oh yes, it was 2 to 1.
2 to 1?
Mm-hmm.
In favor.
In favor, yes.
Does anybody have any questions?
I got a question. It looks like the carports that are on the property right now, they appear to be brand new. In other words, did the storm affect what was there prior to that?
Good evening, Robert Pergolizzi. I'm resident of Driftwood Sands Condominium, 2618 Gulf Boulevard. Those carports have been there for many years. Those are not a result of the storm. They're just in great shape.
So they did not create any kind of damage or liability or anything like that?
We had no damage to our carports from the storm.
Those look pretty good, because I looked at them today.
They're heavy duty aluminum, they're very nice, they're painted nicely, yes, good enough.
That's the question I have.
seems to me we could get 7 in there without the variance. Is there a reason why 9 is the magic number?
Robert Pergolas with Driftwood Sands. I'm on the Driftwood Sands Board of Directors. I'm a resident there. With me tonight is Jack Berlin, he's our president, and Mindy Burchard, she's on our Board of Directors too. We have a quorum. The 9 parking spaces have been there for a very long time. They've been there, the property was constructed in 1982, and these 9 spaces are the only owner parking spaces that are not covered by a carport. So we polled all the residents, and they wanted to have a carport over their spaces, and we decided to take a look at that and realized we needed a variance, and here we are. I do have a presentation that I was going to give to show you how we meet the criteria, but if you just want to have a Q&A, I'm fine with that. You can answer any questions you have. The parking spaces are in the extreme northeast corner of our property, and it's a unique situation that we have rights of way on both sides. Gulf Boulevard is to our east, 27th Avenue is to our north. So we have no immediate neighbors to these 9 parking spaces. It's not like we got a carport going up against somebody's bedroom window. As a matter of fact, across the street, across Gulf Boulevard from us is a Turkish Flame restaurant and the mobile gas station. Those are our nearest neighbors. They're 60 feet away on the east side of Gulf Boulevard. North, we have 27th Avenue. It's a 50-foot wide city right-of-way. And north of them, there's, I think, like 3-story townhomes. But they're at least 50 feet away from our property. And that creates a huge buffer. As Hetty showed in the photograph she took, we've got pretty extensive landscaping along Gulf Boulevard. And we do plan on enhancing that, but we want to get the carport built first before we go put landscaping in, because otherwise we'd just be trampling it when we construct the carport, provided we get your approval tonight to do so. The carport would only be about 9.5 feet high. The existing carports you saw that are next to the building, they have a peaked roof. We're just going to have not totally flat, but just slope it towards the northeast, so the water, the rainwater just hits the roof and drains right into that low area, that landscape area. That's kind of like a drainage retention area for us.
So you're going to get the same quality of contractor to put those in that you did back?
Yes, we plan on using heavy-duty aluminum, which costs more, and to match the color with that bronze, that nice bronze color that you saw, sir. That's what we plan on doing. And oh yeah, they'll be able to withstand, I think, like 140-mile-an-hour winds is what we were told. And this carport's kind of like an accessory structure, and I think the setbacks are kind of set for buildings that are going to have people in them. So with these accessory structures, it's just going to be a simple carport, not unlike what they have at Dolphin Reef 2 blocks to our south, and that's why we put that in our application, because we just want similar treatment to what they have. They're 2 blocks to our south. They've got a carport, but ours is going to look a lot better. I know that we had 7 letters in favor. There were no objections, and it was approved by the Board of Adjustment, so we respectfully request your approval tonight.
Thank you. If you'll have a seat, I'd like to open it up for public comment. Does anyone have a public comment about Driftwood Sands condominium carport? I'm closing the public comment. And this closes the public hearing. So I would like.
The debate
of
amongst
the city
yourselves will be
commission.
part of the
Okay.
public hearing.
Does anybody have any issues with this carport?
You saw them.
Yeah, I mean, they look like they're brand new to me, and if that was from '82, I'm pretty surprised about that, especially with a couple of back-to-back hurricanes, but I don't have any problem with it.
Okay, Jude?
It seems to me odd because it's not connected to the main structure. It's just sort of an isolated shed out in the middle of the street that, you know, from a visual standpoint, it will take up what's otherwise a pretty wide open area, which there are fewer and fewer of.
It's heavily landscaped. You have 27th on the one side and 26th on the other, so.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's parking there now.
Yeah.
just Without a carport.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all we're trying to do is just cover existing car parking.
Yes. But that,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's
Okay.
still a thing.
It is a thing.
So,
It's also Florida.
yeah. 140 miles an hour? What do you guys think of that? Is that enough?
I hope so.
They will be rated by the building, they'll have to get a birth permit, so
Okay.
whatever it is, it'll have to be rated.
Okay. Thank you, Hetty. And Hillary?
Yeah, I understand what we're trying to accomplish here. I'll just point out that the variance request didn't meet the criteria for actually granting it, yet the board did vote to approve it. So just wanted to put that out there because the other one that got pulled off the agenda for today had the similar results in terms of whether it met the criteria for the variance. And that one was denied. So it's just, you know, it's a little bit subjective in my opinion.
Okay, Vice Mayor?
I don't see an issue with it.
Well, I have a quick question to your point, Hillary, that about meeting the criteria. So the criteria of variance, I mean, I'm not sure I'm not sure what the problem is that they need the variance for. So they want something sort of, I don't know how to put this. It's not really necessary, and it's not part of the original structure, and there's no hardship that is being created by this thing, by its lack of existence. As I said, you could still fit seven in there without even needing the variance. Like I said, I'm not sure what the hardship is and how your particular situation is such that a variance should be granted.
I believe some of,
Well, what we had looked at is that those are all parking spaces that are owned by unit, you know, that's where the owners of the units park, as their assigned parking. And yes, they're the only ones that don't have covered parking. And, I mean, the hardship is, yes, why can't they have covered parking where the other ones don't?
Right.
And unfortunately, when, you know, I guess when it was designed, you know, the parking was into the setbacks, so, you know, we're just looking at it as something that, first of all, you know, you can protect it, you could put solar panels on top of there, you could do other things with that carport as well, so.
Just because you can do something.
Do you have any other comments, sir?
I just wanted to point out that I do believe we do meet a lot of the criteria for this variance. I can explain why. As Hetty pointed out, these are the only 9 spaces that are owner spaces that don't have the roof protection, the carport protection. We know the Florida climate, hot and wet. I don't need to go into that. These 9 spaces are pre-existing. They've been used by owners for decades. As far as not conferring a special privilege is one of the criteria, we use Dolphin Reef 2 blocks to our south as an example of someone else who's got a carport that is in the setback. As far as given that the property is abutted by 27th Avenue to the north and Gulf Boulevard to the east, there's no immediate neighbors that we're impacting. That's shown here tonight that there's nobody wrote letters of objection. And we think, you know, Driftwood Sands, we've been here since 1982. We contribute to the city, we contribute to the tax base. And, you know, the overwhelming majority of unreserved spaces are under the building and the carports. And we're just looking to get these last 9 covered. So, thank you. Is there any more questions you've got?
Does anyone have any more questions? You can have a seat. Thank you. I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make the motion. I move to recommend that the City Commission approve Board of Adjustment Case Number 2025-05, 2018 Gulf Boulevard, the variance request from Section 110-1315F of the Code of Ordinances of 14 feet into the required 24-foot front yard setback, resulting in a total front yard setback of 11 feet and 5.7 feet into the required 7-foot in height side yard setback, resulting in a total side yard setback of 1.3 feet for the installation of a carport for property located at 2618 Gulf Boulevard, Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, and legally described as Driftwood Sands condominium, according to plat thereof, as recorded in Plat Book 62, page 106, Public Records, Pinellas County, Florida.
Can I have a second, please?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Jude?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'm sorry, my mind was a no, but the motion still carries.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on to other legislative matters. Ordinance number 2025-06.
Oh, so that's one of the different sections.
All right. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, is that makes it a positive?
Well, not.
Not necessarily.
I didn't think so. I seconded the motion, but I still did vote on the
She
motion.
seconded the motion, but wants to say no.
Yeah,
But everyone else still said it, everyone still said yes. Yes, sorry. And if he, since we're distracted here, I'm so sorry. Can you just check your mic, Commissioner, Vice Mayor Wilson? Okay, thank you.
It's there.
It's just not, yeah, great, thanks.
Okay, so are we in conclusion? It is a approved. Okay. Other legislative matters, ordinance number 2025-06, public hearing, first reading, establishing procedures for certified recovery residences. I'm opening the public hearing. City Attorney Matt Maggard, would you explain?
Sure. Senate Bill 954 that was passed this last legislative session requires that all cities and counties establish a procedure for review and approval of certified recovery residences, including any reasonable accommodations. We essentially, we're just wanting to comply with the statute that requires this, so this creates an application process and a review process and standards for certified recovery residences if one were to be applied for within the city. In big picture, that means that this establishes the procedure, but ultimately they would come before City Commission for approval or denial.
Does this allow like halfway houses?
No, so a certified recovery residence is not a halfway house.
Okay.
It's a different thing, legislative. The certified recovery residence is, I keep wanting to use different terms to describe the same thing, but it's not there's a statutory provision that defines what they are, but it's give me just a second, and I'll close my proposed ordinance. But it is a sober living facility.
But it's not called a halfway house?
No, halfway house is mandated. These are generally, these are voluntary. They have to have state license, DVPR. They are for a controlled environment of sober individuals, and they're not mandated by any court or have anything to do with any criminal activity. Halfway houses are generally condition of release, and are regulated and ordered by a court. So completely different.
So it's all voluntary.
Inpatient rehab?
No, it's not. It's what's,
Like I said, I thought it was kind of like a rehab. I mean, it's like a drug AA, if you, I mean, but a voluntary, you know, on your own to go to a rehab, you know, remediate drugs or alcohol.
But in order to open one here, somebody would have to become certified and then come to the city and request to open.
yeah, that's the whole point of this is.
Okay.
But it's not, there's a difference between a rehab, because rehab facilities are, it's under a different part of the statute and a different criteria. This is post-rehab, essentially it allows multiple people that are not of the same family to reside together in a home that are attempting to do that for their sobriety. There's a different set of regulations for that. So there's not a medical activity taking place. It's just a residence, but the statute requires or allows them to bypass some of the local regulations on zoning and those type of things. So we're asking that they come before the city commission for approval by implementing this ordinance.
And the state's not really giving us an option on this. We need to implement.
Yes, this is a mandate from the state.
Okay.
Now, what the ordinance says is up to us, but it is a mandate for us to implement. We have to create some kind of procedure and process, and that's what this ordinance does.
I guess no more than 12 visitors.
And if you want, before there's any more discussion, I'll just read the title into the record. First reading of ordinance number 2025-06, ordinance of the city of Indian Arms Beach, Florida, creating chapter 75, certified recovery residents of the Code of Ordinances, establishing procedures for the review and approval of certified recovery residents, providing for the applicability, repeal or severability, inclusion of the code in an effective date. Now, I would ask that the commission entertain the motion.
Does anybody have any questions about this?
We have what?
You have questions about this?
Do we have a certain amount of time we have to have this done by, since it's being mandated by the state?
Yeah, January 1st, 2026.
All right.
But we don't have no current applications.
And I think there are a large number of municipalities and counties that are haven't even started this process yet, so they're not being compliant. So there's quite a bit of.
I mean, do we have a set of rules for the application? Is the state giving us that too?
No.
Oh.
We've established that.
Okay.
But who certifies the actual residents? Is that the state or us?
State.
Okay, so it comes to us already certified, I think Mayor also already asked that, but I just want to make sure I understand that, because we don't know what the criteria is for that.
Well, it's just a matter,
Certification.
It's not, we won't have any say on their certification.
it's just a matter of time until they start coming.
Maybe, maybe not. I mean, my personal opinion is that these don't make financial sense on this side of the bridge, but, I think it's just my personal opinion, but we'll see. We have none today.
All right, then I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make. Okay, it really doesn't like me. That we accept resolution number 20.
to go to public comment? Yes.
Oh,
we
sorry,
did.
Casey.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm not sure that isn't that part of what the state requires the ordinance, that it is not a discussion item, that it is you gotta do it?
No, I mean, for the ordinance that needs to be discussed, and I thought there was public comment on this, because we did comment, we did discussion before I read the ordinance, so, yeah.
Let's open the floor for public comment on this certified recovery residences.
Hi, Kelly Watt, 431 River Drive South. I'm really confused what you're doing here. And I think the commission, maybe except for Jan, is confused too. So I'm reading what's on the agenda, and it says establishing procedures for certified recovery residents. I understand there's a state mandate, but are you establishing procedures today, or are you putting forward an ordinance that you will be establishing procedures?
The ordinance establishes procedures on how we will handle the applications.
But that's not here. You don't have the procedures here in front of the commission.
Yes, they're in the
It's in
ordinance.
the ordinance.
Right?
Yes, they're in the ordinance.
Where is the ordinance?
They're on the agenda, it's attached to the agenda.
No, it just is only a.
It's in the agenda packet.
It's in the agenda packet.
So you're just looking at the
All right,
agenda.
just reading the agenda.
The agenda,
Okay.
yeah, that's typically, the agenda is part of it, just the title.
Okay, so you do have procedures established and, have you read those? Okay. All right, thank you.
I'm on 41 Harbor Drive South, so my understanding is this could be anywhere in the city.
I think we have to have procedures if somebody wants to establish one somewhere that we would not permit it, and then that decision would go, they're not automatic, that's what would go before the city commission, for decision.
So the state will allow us to decide where we will put them in the city, is that?
Not on a broad sweeping stance, it'll be a case-by-case basis.
And is there a number allowed, like a total number allowed in that house?
I don't believe that there's any, I don't know what the restrictions are on that. I haven't seen any guidance on that.
Okay. Those would be concerns.
But we just wanted to put in a mechanism that would require somebody wanting to do this to come here for approval before they're allowed to do that. So that's what tonight is doing. And then I think like most of the other jurisdictions that are still investigating this, we're going to continue to investigate and see how we need to tweak it as we go. But we don't want to just leave it open and not have a way to regulate them. So right now, we're saying that to file an application, we're requiring, all the information for what they're wanting to do, and then they have to get approval from the city commission directly at a public meeting before they can operate. And our purpose in doing that is, if we don't do that, then they're just going to be allowed to bypass us and open up wherever they want. Again, strongly encourage everybody to go to Tallahassee on legislative action days and lobby your state legislators.
Land, do you have a comment?
Yeah, also encourage that, land on 301 Harbor Drive again. So what we're basically doing is acknowledging that the state's telling us we need to put a procedure together. Is that correct?
Well,
they've already told us what the procedure is. I myself did not read the attachment either.
no, they didn't tell us what the procedure is. They just require everybody to have set up an application process and have a procedure.
Okay, so because we're required by state law now to set up an application or a procedure for an application, that does not mean that we have to accept any application that comes into our city.
That's correct. It'd be a case-by-case basis.
And then it will be up to the independent commission at that particular time when an application, if or if not, was received.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Dave Watt, 431 Harbor Drive South. I too have not read it, so this may be, my question is this in there? So do we have the ability as a community, as a commission, to set the triggers or requirements of not allowing them? That's my question. For instance, just making something up, are these unmanaged live-ins? Do we know that? Or am I just asking questions that are way down the road?
Yeah, I don't have a good answer for that right now. We're still investigating what exactly the extent these are going to be.
And I apologize if I'm just totally confused here. I don't see how we can make any decision about anything right now. It doesn't sound like, unless what you're saying is all we're doing is just saying, yes, state, we understand, we got to come up with something. Is that it? That's it for tonight?
No, we are acknowledging that we have to come up with an application process and a procedure, and we're saying, here's the application process, what you need to bring, what the contents of the application need to be. And our process is, it has to be approved by city commission.
But the process itself, is that established yet? Or am I don't know if I'm off the bait, off the.
You mean the criteria?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
No, I mean, there's some criteria, but we're still trying to figure out exactly what criteria they're going to be. So we just have
We met the requirements of having the applications. So
right, and that it goes before the commission until we can further establish specific criteria. I mean, if there's a request for an accommodation through ADA, which is one of the things that the statute requires us to consider, we're sending everything to the commission to consider and approve.
And that's just a short-term stopgap until everything's developed? I don't know, I apologize if I'm not following, I'm just.
No, I think you're right, yes.
This is
You're
really.
following it. It's to put something in place, really until we can figure out what criteria needs to be established, if any, for us. It may not be.
It's just a stopgap to meet the January deadline, basically, at the point. But it's not the final works, the ordinance or whatever it'll be called, that will actually create the real guidelines, I guess.
I think that the criteria could be expanded in the next several months. It depends on what we determine that staff, I guess, need, and then also what the state does with the statute, because my understanding is it's already evolving again.
I understand these aren't things we come up with, it's just, my head's spinning a little bit, and I'm just thinking, good Lord, we thought short terms were bad. I guess the downside of this is, or the upside might be that it's not a profitable thing maybe, but that's what we would have thought about some of these short terms if the price they pay too, so.
Well, we have to establish the criteria. If under the ADA, if somebody with a certified recovery residence requests accommodation, part of that accommodation has to do with our code, we have to have a procedure and an application process in place. So that's what we're doing, and that is, we're going to take it to the commission to decide, and it'll be a case by case if it's those type of things with regards to accommodations. I don't know that outside of defining what the ADA requires for accommodations of those with disabilities that we can really establish a different criteria. I think it would be very fact specific. And
I don't mean to keep, I'll stop after this, but even the whole talk of just the disability side of it, I guess these aren't all considered disabilities, are they?
my understanding is
It falls
that,
in all of it, no matter what you're saying, one of these group homes for is considered a disability?
I can't answer that. I know that there's some case law out there that some of these people that are suffering from substance abuse issues are afforded ADA accommodations.
Understood, thank you. Appreciate it.
Hi, Patty Addis, 421 13th Avenue. I mean 124, thinking about his address, sorry. 13th Avenue. Okay, so my question is, who pays for this? And if it is some government program, then that would, you were saying like this side of the bridge would be too expensive maybe? But if, who's paying for it? I guess.
These are private.
But they're private?
Yeah.
Okay, so they would be paying for it?
Right, that's why it's just, I mean, I don't have any comment about the economics of the system. I just said, from what I've seen, I think the value of the properties alone make it cost prohibitive, but, you know, that could be a mistaken assumption too, because it depends on what residents of your sober living facility you're able to attract, but, you know, essentially, if they request accommodations through the ADA, we need to have a process on how we handle that, and our process we're determining and recommending approval of tonight is fill out an application, be reviewed by staff, and go before the city commission and make a decision. And I anticipate it being too fact specific to have a better defined criteria than that because of the ADA element of it.
Okay, so we'll just see as we go along.
I think so, because these things get thrown at us as local governments from the state level. We have to react.
Yeah, seems like an overreach, but it's okay. We'll see how it goes. Thank you.
It's like the STR ordinance could come in handy. It's the same thing.
AB 497, 20,000. Is there going to be a second reading on this?
Yes.
When will that be?
It'll be in January, after January 1st.
Matthew Barclough, 211 11th Avenue. As someone who's at the center of a diverse set of uses for real estate, I'd love to be a part of that conversation as we start to establish the ways and means that the city evaluates applications. Having been close to people, gone through those programs, I think they offer tremendous value in this being a beach town, offering the venues and maybe an alternative to some of the people who don't like short-term rentals. I think they might have more persistent neighbors in place. So I look forward to this discussion.
Anyone else want to make a comment? I'm closing the public comment. And I'm closing the public hearing unless you have any more, does anybody have any more discussion
Yeah,
about this?
it's not a discussion, it's just a question, and it's probably just, I don't know who brought it up, yes, it's a little bit confusing on the final determination, and maybe it's just the way I'm reading it, but there's an opportunity for an applicant to be approved as long as they're not requesting any changes to land use. Is that the way I read that? So it could be basically a rubber stamp approval unless it's a request for some accommodation or change to land use. Is that how I read that? It's number 2 under application.
If we already allow it within the code where they're wanting it to happen, then it'll be staff.
But we don't know that. I mean, what does that mean to allow it?
A certified, I mean, if the code is established and permits this type of use where they want to do it, then it'll be administratively approved. I don't know that we have any places in the city that's.
Well, I guess I'm asking, do we need that statement then, because it's a bit confusing. Do we even need that in here? Is that the flow down from the state law? Okay, then never mind. Well, I'll remain confused.
I'm now closing the public And I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make the motion that we approve resolution number 2025-14, a resolution of the City of Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, relating to, oh, wait a minute, I'm on the wrong one.
Yeah,
I'm back to lot mowing. There we are. I made the motion that we approve ordinance number 2025-06, public hearing, first reading, establishing procedures for certified recovery residences.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to resolution number 2025-14, a resolution of the City of Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, relating to a lot mowing or clearing, providing for approval and endorsement of all assessments as finally fixed and adjusted, 440 20th Avenue, Indian Rocks Beach, Florida. I'm opening the public hearing.
Well, I'll take it and read the resolution by title. Resolution, first reading of resolution number 2025-14, resolution of the City of Indian Rocks Beach relating to lot mowing or clearing, providing for approval and endorsement of all assessments as finally fixed and adjusted. And if there's any public comment, you can take that now.
So can you explain to us what's going on with this lot clearing?
I mean, I can give a quick synopsis. I know that there's.
Go, yeah, Mike will cover it. Mike will take it. Thanks, Mike.
You fell asleep. Mike Kelly, I'm code enforcement manager for the City of Indian Rocks Beach. This is a property, 440 20th Avenue. The elderly lady that lived there passed away a couple years ago. Survived by her husband, passed away about just before the flood. So the home was empty at the time of the flood. After the flood, I still to today don't think it's been open or mediated in any way. I've spoken on the phone on a couple occasions to the sons we tracked down. Corresponded with them in emails also, asking them, to see if they could get the yard cleaned up, let them know that we had to get it cleaned up one way or the other. Nothing happened. There were a few promises made, but nothing happened, so we cleaned it up. At this point, just need to leave the property. We've sent mailers to the property. Obviously, nobody's there. Posted the property, posted City Hall, kind of jumped through all the hoops we were supposed to do. That's kind of where we are now. We just need to get the property lean. Haven't heard from the sons in a couple of months now.
So it's just really an abandoned property.
The house is, to this point, abandoned. Good news is it's getting cold and grass isn't growing anymore, so this may be the end of it for a while.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for
How much lien do you want to put on it?
I think it was $1,000, was it?
It is
$1,100. It's what it cost the mow was $1,000, administrative costs were $100. What we got into it.
Thank you. Now I'll open the public comment on 440 20th Avenue. Does anybody have any comment on that?
So Marathon. John Thayer, 1819 Bay Boulevard, Indian Rocks Beach. I'd like to thank Mike Kelly for explaining what the hell's going on, because you could have saved yourself a whole lot of discussion on the prior item if somebody would have read the first reading like we normally do in a meeting and explain what's happening so we know what we're talking about. The only other comment I have on this is, with all the houses that are in the same condition in Indian Rocks and everywhere else in the country, or else in the county, why do we have to come to the commission for a resolution to file a lien on a property if we mow it? Seems like that'd be another lien.
It's required by our city ordinance.
To have a resolution in front of the city council?
Yes.
We're gonna be pretty busy now.
Bob Copeland, 445 20th Avenue.
Oh, it's your neighbor.
It's my neighbor. It's a sad story, but it's reality, and I appreciate everything the city's doing that they have to do. Just so the city knows, the neighbors went out and cleaned it the first time, and the yard was at least this high, and we were dragging dead oak tree branches out of the backyard. The twins are 40-year-old boys. So, thank you for doing what you have to do.
Thanks, Bob. Anyone else? None? I'm closing the public comment. And does anyone else up here on the dais have a concern or question?
No, ma'am.
I'd like to close the public hearing. I mean, I think it's unfortunate, and I think it is true that we're going to have other properties that we're going to have these kinds of assessments on, and it's sad. It's sad. But we have to keep our neighborhoods clean as much as we can, and we can't tolerate this. So could I have a motion, please?
Now we'll do this one. All right, I'll make the motion that we approve resolution number 2025-14, a resolution in the city of Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, relating to lot mowing or clearing, providing for approval and endorsement of all assessments as finally fixed and adjusted, 440 20th Avenue, Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, 33785.
And a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. As there's no other business, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion we adjourn.
And a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.